The countdown to Chiefs training camp is on, and you can see the helmets have arrived as they are on their way to St. Joe. What a beautiful sight. We cannot wait for it. Chiefs football, another day closer. We're going to break it all down. The latest news and rumors in your Kansas City Chiefs coming up on today's Chiefs Report. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about public enemy number 1 and 2 in Kansas City these days. Kadarius Toney, we have some new trade rumors on him we'll get to. Also, Skyy Moore. Could he be on the chopping block as well? We'll go over all of that in just a matter of moments. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. If you want Toney or Moore gone, here's your chance to let your voice be heard. Spam G for gone in the comments section. If you truly do believe so, then I need to see at least 300 comments today that you want one of those guys gone. Let your voice be heard here on today's show. The folks at The Athletic, Nate Taylor and company that cover the Kansas City Chiefs, not so hot on Toney or Moore these days, much like the rest of Chiefs Kingdom, and for good reason. Let's start with Kadarius Toney, the former first-round pick taken by the New York Giants with the 20th overall selection. Played in only 12 games in a season and a half with the Giants, was then traded to KC for a 2023 third-round pick and a sixth-round pick. Now, there's no denying that the first Super Bowl run that he was a part of, he played a pivotal role in that game, but really that's been about it for Kadarius Toney. Is he was benched last year, even when he came back from injury and said he was healthy. They didn't activate him for the Super Bowl. And we all, of course, know about what happened in the Bills game in the regular season with the penalty that he got called for that took that win basically off the board. It's been an ongoing thing for Kadarius Toney. Nate Taylor of The Athletic writes the following. Toney must continue to rebuild his connection and chemistry with Mahomes, while also showing he could be one of the top targets for backup quarterback Carson Wentz in the preseason. An argument can be made that Toney is still the Chiefs' most talented receiver, even after the offseason additions of Marquise Brown and rookie Xavier Worthy. Toney, though, needs to demonstrate consistency in camp in the preseason to secure his roster spot. If he doesn't do well in camp, Toney could be a candidate to be traded ahead of August 27th, the NFL's annual cutdown day. If Toney is traded, that would create $2.5 million in salary cap space for the Chiefs with no dead money, according to Over the Cap. And a very competitive receiving room there in Kansas City with those two additions that were mentioned by Nate Taylor and then the return of McCole Hardman as well. What do you guys think? Do the Chiefs need to trade Kadarius Toney? It's our pinned comment today. Weigh in, let us know what you think. Type T for trade, K for keep. Chime in the comments section, let us know. The creation of $2.5 million in cap space is a bigger threat than the play that we saw on the football field from Kadarius Toney last season. It's no secret the Chiefs have a decent amount of cap space as is, but all of a sudden, if you open up $2.5 million, now we're talking about the Chiefs with the flexibility to get a couple of big-time players potentially, or maybe that creates some wiggle room for some extension candidates potentially here. That's worth more than the money that you would get out of Kadarius Toney based on what we saw last year. The tail of the tape in 2023. It was damn brutal, in the words of Big Tex here at Chat Sports, for Kadarius Toney last year, as he had just 27 catches for 169 yards and 1 touchdown. The drop percentage, one of the highest in the entire league at 13.3%, with just 6.3 yards per reception. The Chiefs can do better if they trade him. All they can do, all they can hope and pray is, please, can we get him out of here, and can we get just something out of him at this point? Some possible destinations for Kadarius Toney include the Philadelphia Eagles, who are looking for some receiver help, as are the New Orleans Saints, the Los Angeles Chargers. I know intra-division trades are kind of rare, but if the Chargers would take him, by all means, you can have him. He's all yours as far as I'm concerned. Maybe return to the New York Giants, potentially, is not out of the question, a team that's needing some receiver help. And then the Arizona Cardinals, although they do bring in Marvin Harrison Jr. after Hollywood Brown departed, they could still use some potential wide receiver help. This feels similar to a potential trade as Skyy Moore as well. As Skyy Moore is being talked about as both guys have had disappointing runs in Kansas City for what the expectations were for both players. And if you're the Chiefs, you're not going to get a ton out of Kadarius Toney because there's a decent chance that if you don't find a trade partner that you're just going to end up cutting him anyway and somebody else could sign him for free. The trade idea that we've put together here on the Chiefs Report is the possibility of the Chiefs getting a 6th-round pick, giving up Toney in a 7th-round pick. So you move up 1 round potentially and you free up the cap space. That sounds like a win for the Kansas City Chiefs there. If someone offers anything, just anything, do it. By all means, if you can get Kadarius Toney out of the building and get something for him, a 6th-round pick, a 7th-round pick, if you can get a washing machine from the Flint Tropics, I don't care. Just do whatever you can to get the deal done. Now, Skyy Moore. Let's talk about him for a second here. Toney wasn't the only one on the trade block for the Kansas City Chiefs. Skyy Moore, former 2nd-round pick, he has had plenty of opportunities. We've talked about this before, that the Chiefs were the worst receiving core in football last year, and last year was supposed to be the opportunity for Skyy Moore to step up. He did not. Here's what the Athletic had to say on Skyy Moore. Similar to Toney, Moore had a disappointing 2023 season and finished the season with a knee injury. Also similar to Toney, Moore needs to reestablish his role within the offense, whether as a primary slot receiver or a trusted all-around receiver, such as 7-year veteran Justin Watson. Moore is likely to compete with Toney for regular season snaps if both players make the initial roster. If Moore is released or traded on cutdown day, it would create $1.29 million in salary cap space for the Chiefs, with less than $500,000 in dead money, according to Over the Cap. The money is intriguing there, too. Although it's not as much as Kadarius Toney money, that's still a significant margin we're talking about of over $1 million you could potentially free up there, which is more than the vet minimum, potentially. And we know that there are a lot of veterans still on the market that would love to come on board for a potential Super Bowl run. I'm looking at you, Yannick Ngakoue. Look at the comparison between these two. It has not been great of what we've seen from these two receivers this last season in Kansas City. You can see Toney had more catches with a 27 compared to 21 from Skyy Moore. Skyy Moore had more yards and more yards per catch, 244 yards and 11.6 yards per reception. Each had just 1 touchdown and only 3 catches of 20-plus yards or more from Skyy Moore. None from Kadarius Toney last year, which with Toney, it's just inexcusable because he's supposed to be this burner, this speed receiver that's supposed to be able to get open downfield. He just failed to do that last year, with that said. But you look at Skyy Moore, his career statistics, the silver lining, if you will, the difference that I see between the two. Although I am totally done with Kadarius Toney at this point in time, I'm not completely giving up on Skyy Moore just yet. Or at least I'm more optimistic on Skyy Moore than I am Kadarius Toney. I think time has clicked away on Kadarius Toney. With Skyy Moore, you could point to the injuries. You could point to that he's had a few flashes here and there. To me, that's where I look at if I'm choosing between one of the two, I'll keep Skyy Moore. And not to mention, you should be invested more in the Skyy Moore because he was one of your own picks compared to Toney was a guy you traded for who the New York Giants had already given up on. Let's get you some chat stats here on the Chiefs Report. Since 2010, did you know 72% of players drafted in rounds 1 through 4 with less than 300 yards their rookie year never went above 500 yards in a season. So history tells us that doesn't look great for Kadarius Toney and Skyy Moore. There is a chance that not only that one of them is gone, but both of them are gone before the season begins. With the new receivers they brought in, with adding Mecole Hardman back into the fold, it's hard to imagine that you would get that deal done for Mecole Hardman if you weren't going to have him a part of your 53-man roster, and we know how much Patrick Mahomes likes him and such. So what do you guys think? Which of these two would you rather trade? Would you rather trade Toney or would you rather trade Moore? Type 19 for Toney, type 24 for Moore. Let us know in that comment section below. If I had to say which one is more likely to get traded between these two, to me it's definitely Kadarius Toney here. With Kadarius Toney, we mentioned one team's already given up on him. He's not the initial investment, right? The Chiefs, Brett Veach is in a predicament where he wants to prove his scouting department right when it comes to Skyy Moore. That's not the case with Kadarius Toney. He wasn't their guy. So there's more to it, and the numbers were slightly better last year for Skyy Moore as well, and he's younger than Kadarius Toney there. So for me, I think Toney is the odd man out, whether he's cut or traded, whatever it may be. As we sit here today in the middle of July, I'm telling you right now, I will be shocked if Kadarius Toney is on this Chiefs 53-man roster when the season begins. It ain't happening. If you made it to the end of today's video, spam Real One in the comments section. We appreciate you. I'm Tyler Jones. We'll see you next time here on the Chiefs Report.